It's said that life is a journey best traveled with friends.
Along the way are adventures and misadventures. But if you're Ms. Mel's friend, you'll find some Ms. Adventures.
Join Ms. Mel for misadventures with friends and explore the paths of friendship.
Welcome to you. I am your hostess, Ms. Mel, and today on Misadventures with Friends, I'll be visiting with my friend, Roy. Hi, Roy.
Hey, Mel, how you doing?
Oh, we're doing good this evening, just enjoying pleasant weather for our time of year and placement in the United States of America. So, yeah, we're doing good, except there's some pollen coming out. And I'm not too thrilled about that, but hey.
Yeah, it's my least favorite part is when the Bartlett pear trees suddenly bloom. It's over.
Yep. Well, we are surrounded by elm trees on the property next door to us, and they are an 8.5 on the pollen index right now. So, bleh.
Wow, overachievers.
Overachievers, definitely. Wish they'd take them down. I expect them to fall across my yard any day now. They are very old. Well, let's get on to things here. I want to mention that Roy is if I can use the term and include myself in this, a fellow podcaster. I figure, you get one up and running and you get 25 listens. I figure you can call yourself a podcaster.
Yeah.
So, tell us just briefly about your podcast endeavors.
So it's called the One Off Tech Podcast. I started it back in 2017 and hard charge with it. We was doing pretty good till 2019, and then I literally took a hiatus without telling my audience. And it turns out my podcast was actually doing really well. I didn't have any access to analytics until after the fact. And then I found out, whoa, there's a lot of people listening to my podcast. So in 2021, I started it back. Originally I had a co-host and we talked about tech news, and it was very tongue in cheek, lots of snark kind of thing that we did.
I wouldn't expect otherwise.
Yeah, and then in 2021 when I started it back, I actually took a live stream. So I'm also a YouTuber, and so I will take my live stream episodes that I think are good enough to be on the podcast, and I will try to edit out all the video specific pieces as I can, and then release that as a podcast. And so it's still the One Off Tech Podcast, but now I talk about content creation is what it's focused on, and it's slowly growing. The stats say I'm doing decent, so I'm like the 465th most popular technology podcast in the U.S.
You broke 500. That's great.
Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, I was in the top 10 in Sri Lanka. I have no idea why. It's like, whoa, I'm in the top 10 in Sri Lanka. And then a month later I dropped out. I don't know what happened there. So
Oh, goodness. I was thrilled the other day to find out I had hit a couple of other continents with downloads. So I'm Asia with a download in Japan, and Africa with a download in Sierra Leone.
yeah,
Of all
that's
places.
awesome.
Yeah. So Europe, Asia, Africa, North America. Yeah, that's it. I guess there's only 2 more in there, or 3 more. I don't know. How many continents are there?
Wouldn't it be neat to get to somebody in Antarctica to download? That would be amazing.
That would be. I'm gonna have to get on that. Just
That
open up
would-
my podcast so I can.
Yeah, just
be
need somebody in
fine.
Antarctica to download an episode of the podcast. I think that'd be amazing.
All right. So if anybody knows anyone in Antarctica, just let us know and we'll refer you to my podcast and to Roy's podcast, because there can't be much other to do than there other than scientific research and podcasts. So, how many reruns of Leave It to Beaver can you watch in Antarctica? I don't know, but it'd be interesting to find out. Anyway, Roy and I go back a few years with just church activities and things like that. And we actually went to Costa Rica at the same time.
It's true. We're still on speaking terms.
Yeah, yeah.
So
The whole team. I was trying to remember the other day who all was on the team, and I had to look at the picture because I couldn't remember.
yeah, it's been a long time.
But my favorite memory is Brent in the culvert in the ground trying to unstop the big cement culvert. And
Yeah.
we've got a photograph of him with just his legs sticking out the end of it. I thought, his wife might not like that photo too much, but we pulled him out
Yeah.
eventually after he did his job. Yeah. So, we've got a friendship that is, as somebody described it recently, is like our circles brush up every so often. And your wife, I consider a friend.
She's awesome. She's one
She
of my
is
favorite
awesome.
people.
Yeah, she is
So,
awesome. And I'm just
and
enjoying.
she's actually my favorite person, but I didn't want to say that out loud because she might find out I said that. So,
Oh, well, I'm gonna tell her to listen. And yeah, I get to see her right now every week uh, on Tuesday evenings with a class that I'm taking. So that's a lot of fun. And occasionally Roy drops in and makes sure everything's running right, and then leaves us to go do
I'm kind of
his
like the
thing.
roadie. I come in and help set up the concert and then I leave. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well, that's a good job. At least you don't have to be there for breakdown.
well, yeah, I hate that. I would like to
Yeah,
be there then as well. So,
I've done enough setups and breakdowns back in the day to think, oh, I don't want to sit through this concert and have to break it down, but I'm stuck here. So, and then you learn to wind up cables and
yes.
fun stuff like that, pull tape off the floor and
I've actually done some of that as well. Being so I've helped some bands out, and then also I used to do DJing part
yeah.
time. That was my name, DJ part time, and I've done several weddings and anniversary things and school events and such. So that was a lot of fun, but I've gotten out of that. It's not as fun as it used to be anymore. So.
Mm, yeah.
Mainly because married couples are so different now than they used to be. So it's really a trip. So
Okay.
it's the bridezillas
Brian
that make it
Dallas.
not fun. So
Yeah, I can imagine so. Yeah, the bridezillas and the mamas of the brides and
yeah, well, I
all that
mean,
good stuff.
they got married in a church, and now they want me to play in the fellowship hall songs that have like all this cussing in it. I'm like, I just
No,
no,
I don't think so.
I don't need to be doing that. So So if I can't be who they want me to be, then I shouldn't do it. So I can't do it anymore.
There you go. Let's move right into our topic. And we've touched on friendship. We're friends, and that's our topic is friendship. We've mentioned our misadventure. That was Costa Rica. And we didn't have too many misadventures while we were there, thankfully, enjoying the rain and the heat and all that fun stuff that goes with going down to the rainforest for a
Yeah.
few days. But let's start right in with what is your definition of friendship?
Well, it's kind of funny because my daughter will say, "Well, yeah, we're she'll talk about somebody she's friends with." And I was like, "Well, are you friends or are you Facebook friends?" Okay, so here's my definition. Your car breaks down on the side road and you will call them at 2 o'clock in the morning and they will come help you. That's a friend. Um, my definition of friendship is somebody that you can go a little bit without seeing, and then you start back up immediately as if not a day has passed. Those are friends. Those people that know they can turn to you anytime if they need something, and you will be there for them. and they for you as well. And those people that you can tell pretty much anything to, and they will listen and not judge you, or they may judge you and then say, "That's fine. I still love you anyway."
Yes.
So that would be my definition of friend. That's been my experience. It is my definition of a friend. So,
Well, how has your perspective on friendship changed over the years?
well, it's kind of challenging because I used to be an introvert. Now because of YouTube, I think I've become an ambivert. Um, but it's, I learned probably it's part of my growth as a Christian that Jesus wants us very much in relationship with him and with each other. And so I did not put a significance on friendship as much as I do now these days. I had a friend, literally my best friend since 16, um, named Jeff, and him and I worked at a grocery store together, and we remained friends as adults. We had periods of time where we didn't hang out together, talk to each other, periods of time where he was mad at me for something I didn't even know about. So, and then friends again. And he was one of those people that if I was crazy enough to try to fix something, he'd come by and work with me. So that I was brave enough to actually try to fix that thing because I wasn't brave enough on my own. Um, and then due to some health issues, he passed away a few years back. So um, it's been, it's really hard because I seem to do better with one or two friends. And I don't do well in groups because of my introverted nature, but I'm trying to get out of that. Small groups has been a big help with that. I've met some just amazing people that you want to hang out with more than just one night a week. And so I think as I mature as a human being, I'm learning more and more the value of friends and want very much to maintain close relationships with people, which has not been in my nature in the past. So it's friend, it's you know, friends and help you live longer. It's if you
Yes.
have friends, close friends, and you are have social interaction, then those are things that help us live longer. I think there was a study that said, yeah, on average, people live like 7 years longer if they have close friends. I know you can lie with statistics, so it could be I don't remember that statistic correctly, but yeah,
Well, unfortunately, I know a couple people that are way on up in their 80s now, and either all their friends have passed away
Mhm.
or they just don't have any friends. And I'm like, how are you still here? If
Yeah,
they, your life would be a whole lot richer if you did have some friends. Well, you mentioned something that I've found in conversations both with men and women on this topic. It seems that most men want to have just one or two good friends, and women will have a clutch.
hmm
I know I have a group of women that I consider my dearest friends, and there's seven of us in total. Maybe it's that number seven, I don't know. But that seems to be the case in most of the people that I've talked to is men establish those one or two deep friendships, and women can hang out with anybody.
yeah.
And I think the conversations can be just as deep, and the sharing can be just as important and deep, but it's just the numbers are different a lot of times.
And that's true. But the other thing men can do that women don't normally do is we can see somebody we haven't seen in 25 years and we can say, "Oh, hey, how you doing? Yeah, great. I'm doing fine. Oh, man, it's so great to see you. Okay, good. That's it. You've caught up." You know. Uh,
Yeah, we're going to a little more detail, I'm afraid. It takes a little bit
no,
longer.
and that's great. I think the other part is that men we have short attention span. So just to remember the names of all our friends, it helps to have just a couple. Okay, I can remember your names. Good, we're good. So
What? you spoke about church small groups, and you've talked about working and stuff like that. How many friend groups do you have? Are there crossovers, or are there just some here, some there?
So I have at least three. I have an online friend community, which is very strange because I have a group. We'll jump on a Zoom call together. We'll hang out together. They're all over the world, and we'll talk about, creating YouTube videos, and we'll cut up and laugh, and we'll talk about, things that happen and experiences with it. And that's one group, and I've been fortunate enough to meet some of those people in person, and they were just as awesome in person as they are on that Zoom call. So that was just an amazing experience, especially since they were from the Philippines and Switzerland and Detroit, which is also a different country.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was very cool meeting them in person, and the people that I had done episodes of my podcast with, and to meet them in person is just, that was amazing to me. And how close and friendly we are, even though, and we have a YouTube group and we just chat in there, and we'll post content in there that only our group sees. And we're not posting anything crazy. It's all about content creation and encouraging others. And it's just such an encouraging group. And so that's one group. And then I have the friends that I make from small group, and occasionally we'll go to breakfast and we'll talk, and we'll have social gatherings and that type of thing. And then I have a friend group at church because I help out in the audio booth, the audio video booth, and so there's kind of a group there, you know. And then my wife is one of my friend groups. She is my best friend. Um, we are just awesome together. She what I'm weak at, she is strong at, and vice versa. And so that's one of my most cherished friendships, of course, as it should be. But just to be friends with your spouse, I've met so many couples that weren't friends. I'm like, how do you do that? I don't understand. And um, so it really, those are my. So I have four friend groups at least, and then work. I have work friends as well. So that's a big dysfunctional family. And I've worked at this company I'm at forever. And so I know so many people, and there's some that have been there for a long time, and we have just amazing relationship, and I can call on them, they can call on me at any time. And it's weird because we only see each other at work, but if you need something outside of work, where we make ourselves available, and so yeah, it's, and I hadn't really thought about it that way, but
That's a
yeah,
good, yeah, that's a good thing. Oftentimes, work friendships are superficial, and time, as you said, you've been there for a while, time does help develop those friendships. But when you've got to work for a company that's transients in
yeah,
and out, and maybe not, maybe you are one yourself, it's difficult to make friends in the workplace and get to know people. And then, of course, there's that occasional supervisor or boss that walks around and says, don't talk to each other. You don't need to have friends in the workplace. Um, with the old adage of, you can be friendly, but you're not supposed to be friends.
yeah.
And that's
It's
debatable. But
it's tough. I've been through some major events in my life, and my work friends have been there for me. And so, while I say they're work friends, they are really friends in real life as well. So, um, yeah, I mean, just some craziness that they got in the middle of with me, that I'm like, in hindsight, I can't believe I asked them to do that, and that they were willing, you know. So they've seen me at my worst, and they've seen me at my best, and yet they were.
well, I have a great time with my work friends right now, I must say. There's two. I'm very close to them, but communication is an issue sometimes, because one of them is 3 years old and the other one is 10 months old. So
Hmm.
As long as we're speaking in Bluey or
Yeah.
obstruction, then, our conversations are great. And I know that they're going to be supportive and give me hugs when I need it. So yeah, some work friends are the best, and I have the best work friends.
Hmm.
Uh, Roy, let's think for a minute, and I'll give you just a second to think about it. What is your or was your most unique, unusual, or unexpected friendship?
Hmm. Uh, well, yeah, I'm trying to think unexpected. That's how about unexpected things that happen in friendships? How about that? I don't know. Um definitely the online community is been just a shock to me because I didn't expect to be able to bond with people remotely.
Hmm.
It's this day and age where COVID and Facebook, all the social medias kind of separate us from each other. I've often joked the devil is invented Facebook to separate us and isolate us and make us think we were okay by ourselves. So, um, but those relationships have been very surprising, and how caring and loving people are that are so far away. I mean, multiple time zones away. So that's very, very fascinating to me, and just been a joy. So it's yeah.
Yeah, for a number of years, I worked remotely. Almost 9 years, I worked remotely for a national organization. And for a good bit of that, I was the only remote employee.
Hmm.
So interaction with other employees and members of my team and my department was all via, at that time, Skype.
Yeah.
And we just stayed in communication with each other that way and built some friendships. I would go to the home office usually only once a year, occasionally twice, but it was like seeing close friends. And it was amazing the bond that we built just, over the monitor. And one supervisor, she and I would just turn on Skype and go on about our business. So we felt like we were in at least kind of sort of in the same room together,
Hmm.
and had a coworker there, and which was nicer than my dog was always at my feet, but
Yeah.
she didn't do anything but bark at the UPS guy when he drove by. So that was nice to do that, and those friendships with some of those primarily women have continued, and I have not seen them since, gosh, maybe one of them I've seen since 2019,
Wow.
and we are still in communication with each other. Now, that's where Facebook has been a blessing,
Right.
to be able to keep up with folks like that and such like. And then the other day, I finally was able to have a conversation with a friend that I had not spoken to in 35 years.
Wow.
And social media had reconnected us a few years ago, but we had not talked to one another other than just commenting on posts and things like that. And I said, well, heck, I need to have her on as a podcast guest, and wasn't sure if she'd be interested in doing that. She said, oh, I'd love to do that. So the first 2 minutes of the Zoom call was just us sitting there holding the sides of our faces, going, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I can't believe it. How long has it been? It's been 35 years
Wow.
since we spoke to one another. Both of us had children. They're grown, all of them. And it was just really a neat experience to reconnect with an old friend. And I think that's one of the boons of social media, is reconnecting. But there's the other aspect of, oh, I have 854 friends on my Facebook profile, and I can't get 5 of them to agree to be a guest on the podcast. I'm like, what kind of
Mm.
friends are you people?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Are you even knowing that that's going on? But yeah, it
No, that's
makes it,
crazy.
yeah, it makes for a reevaluation of what we feel friendship is all about.
Yeah. Well, I joke with my daughter that they're Facebook acquaintances. They're not really friends.
Right.
You just happen to quote unquote follow each other. So I know you were talking about, you working with a friend, they were online while you were online. There's actually services now that people can subscribe to where you can co-work with somebody. They're on their camera and they're chatting with you occasionally while you're working. So for people that really feel isolated working because they're not in an office environment, they have a service now where you can connect with somebody to co-work with them. So I'm like,
Oh, goodness.
that's crazy, but okay. But I mean, that's where we've gotten as society. This remote work. I love working from home. Granted, my refrigerator's too close.
Mm,
Other than that, um, and sharing an office with my wife, she works in the same room, and sometimes she gets too loud, and sometimes I get too loud. She says I get excited, so um, I, I lead a team at the company I work for, so yeah, sometimes I get excited. I'm not I don't raise my voice busting anybody, but I do get excited. Like, oh, we gotta get this done. It's so important and everything. So um, yeah, I mean, it's just a shame that we have so many friends on Facebook, and yet how many are true friends? It's almost like, can we create like a group that's just those people, and
right.
we'll
Like
have our own
that.
private group, and that's where we are. So
Yeah. And where's the group of people that will meet you for lunch at the
yeah,
spur of the moment? I was just thinking about that group I worked with when I was a remote employee, and I couldn't help but when COVID hit, and I wanted to send them all a message and say, "Okay, you get it now? Do you understand
yeah, hmm
what it feels like when, you're looking?" I would look at this whole group. We'd have weekly meetings, and I was looking at the whole group of 40 employees or 50 employees, maybe it was once a month. And they'd be chatting with one another, or they'd bring lunch in and stuff like that. And I'm just sitting there going, twiddling my thumbs and, wondering when the meeting was going to get started because, here I am over here eating my peanut butter sandwich while you get a big Moe's spread for lunch.
yeah. Damn, that's the other thing is you kind of miss that water cooler talk, so to speak. That
Right.
that those conversations that kind of lead to conversations that make it less awkward in a work environment. So
Yeah.
You're listening to Misadventures with Friends.
Let's turn, we've talked about good friendships and eternal friendships and uh, some short-term friendships can be tough but beneficial. Uh, how do you handle a friendship? Now, this can be something that you've experienced, or you can just spew your wisdom on us. How do you handle a friendship that starts to get to be draining or unhealthy? Sometimes we call them
yeah,
toxic friendships.
toxic friendships. Well, unfortunately, when that happens, I am prepared to walk away from it. Um, I, I will try to make amends, and I'll say I don't know what I'm doing wrong, or if I do know what I'm doing wrong. But I mean, if there's, I don't need drama. But I mean, I will tell you an example. So there was a coworker that, oh man, he just had such an attitude, and it was so difficult to work with him. And I started praying about that situation, which is probably the right answer in all cases. We should pray about these toxic relationships when they start happening. But I prayed, and my prayer was, God, if it's him, change him. If it's me, change me. And I kept praying it that way because I'm like, because on the surface, I couldn't think of anything I was doing wrong, but I didn't want to presume that it just, and so funny enough, we just suddenly started being friends. Because before I had a hard time being his friend because he just was just such an attitude, and he would let people know what he thought about them and everything. And so that was hard. I jokingly say, he'd make support calls and he'd make the engineers he's calling into mad at him, and they didn't want to help him. I said, "You're going to become like the bad patient, like, you know, on Seinfeld. You don't want that. You don't want to be like Elaine and be the bad patient where doctors don't want to see you and they're talking about you behind your back." Um, and so I prayed about it and prayed about it and prayed about it, and then something happened. I don't even know when it happened. We just suddenly began to be able to talk, which we weren't before because I very much didn't agree with anything he said. Suddenly we could talk, and we've been friends ever since. And does he still do things that drive me crazy? Yes, but he's actually mellowed out some, and I probably have too. Um, definitely, if that friendship is important to you, then I would say pray about it and put it in God's hands and see if He will make a change. And if He change doesn't happen, then maybe that friendship isn't to be. And so I have walked away for some friendships in my life, because I just felt there was nothing I could do to fix it. And and as they say, time wounds all heals. Um, and so just sometimes you need enough time away from somebody to go back to them, and you probably will both will have forgotten what you were mad at each other about. So that sometimes is the answer. Sometimes time away. It's like, I'm gonna put you in timeout for a while, and then we'll revisit this friendship and see if you would like to resume this. And then if you don't, life's too short for me to fixate on this, and I need to move on.
Agreed. Agreed.
So,
Yeah. But we think at our age, my age, older than your age, about life being too short, and make your friends and work on your friendships and that sort of thing. Well, I have children. You have much younger children. Should parents be aware of their children's friendships?
oh yes.
And how do you open that conversation and maintain that conversation with your kids about their friends and their friendships?
Well, it's really easy as parents. We just do good cop, bad cop. Um, and so I'm the bad cop and my wife's the good cop. And so I point all the kids to her. You should go talk to her and tell her everything. And I'll be the one that's grumpy about it all. Um, no, it's you just you ask those questions. Hey, how was your day? How things going? And you keep asking, how was your day? How things going? And if you see they don't seem to be happy or something's on their mind, hey, yeah, you want to talk about it? And they'll give you clues. They may not open up and tell you everything, but they'll give you clues. And then as parents, if you're lucky enough to, if you're a single parent, I don't know how a single parent does it these days. It's got to be the most daunting thing, because Don and I were definitely a partnership. And so where I failed, she succeeds. And so she will go and I'll give her the clues that I picked up on, and then she'll run and try to start that conversation and dig deeper. Um, because your kids can have toxic friends at school. Um, and they're not even friends. They're just people who are in their face and just saying harsh things and talking bad about them or talking about bad about others. And so you got to support your kids as best you can. It's just so important that you be there for them and you commiserate with them and show empathy for them and listen to what they say. And if you have wisdom and advice that you can give them on ways to potentially deal with the situation, then you do that. And so that's how we deal. We listen, and then we talk and try to help, we try to offer encouragement, and we also pray a lot. So I pray for my kids a lot. Um, so
And that
yeah,
doesn't stop when they're grown.
it
It
doesn't.
does
It
not.
doesn't. I have
And
two grown.
now you get to start over again with a grandchild. So congratulations
Yeah, I
on
have.
that.
Yeah, I just had a grandbaby a couple weeks ago. So our first grandchild, and it's amazing. I haven't got to spend as much time with her as I would like, but at the same time, it's probably good because it's that period of time when you got to keep all the illnesses away. We've been healthy, but at the same time, I don't want anything that cause her not to be healthy. So, um,
Well, I'm glad you waited until you got back from Costa Rica because
yeah,
you just made another trip there. And
I
it,
did.
it speaking of that, let's talk about that. Oftentimes, friendships come out of a common adversity, uh,
That's right.
or a. It doesn't always have to be an something tragic or overly complicated or anything like that. But definitely being on a mission trip will either bond a group together or it will not work at all.
Yeah.
Tell me about this recent trip in the group that you went with.
Uh,
What
it
happened with that group?
it it was amazing. It was an amazing group. Definitely God put it together because when I was trying to put it together, it wasn't coming together. And so I finally said, let me get out of your way, God, because I have a habit of giving things to God and then taking it back.
I understand.
But this time I gave it to him and I let him have it. And then people began signing up. And it was a diverse group of folks. Luckily, a lot of them had skills. I don't have any skills, so it worked out well. I said, look, I'm just here to lift heavy things.
Well, tell us
Um,
what you were doing that would require skills.
um, so so a family that we support at our church, and also that I'm part of their nonprofit organization they have now. Um, they translate the Bible into Quebecer. So the Quebecer tribe lives in Costa Rica and also partially in Guatemala. There's a variant of the Quebecer tribe lives in Panama, um, but they came originally from Colombia, South America. They've probably been there, maybe not quite as long as the Incas or the Aztecs, but definitely were there before the Spaniards came. And so their language is not derivative of Spanish at all. It is a unique language. And so the family that we support was able to, about 50 plus years ago, kind of crack the code
Hmm.
on their language and began doing translation and then um, helped them kind of formalize it into a written language. It wasn't fully developed as a written language, and then started translating the Bible into their native language. But then there was some issues with the translation. So later members of the family have continued to work on it and adapt it. The Quebecers they believe in spirits and witchcraft and sacred stones, and that type of thing. And so it's been challenging. They are hunter gatherers that live up in the mountains. They walk everywhere. Though now, society's brought them motorcycles and some cell phones. Uh, yeah. But anyway, so when a Quebecer member needs like medical attention because they live up in the mountains, they're not near any kind of medical facility. So if they need medical attention or if they need to interact with the Costa Rican government and they need to be closer to, municipal type stuff, then they stay with his family in the shelters temporarily. So we went and built additional shelters because they had kind of overcrowding happening. And so we went to build a shelter, and the Quebecers cook on a fire. on the ground. So the shelter we built we built like a two bedroom kind of structure, and then we built a cooking house that does have a sink, but they light a fire on the floor and cook their meals over a fire still. So we don't want to change that part of their culture. That's who they are. And so this is just a place for them to stay for temporary if they have health issues and they're seeking medical attention, or, like I said, government affairs they have to work on. And it was a group, myself and 9 other guys, and just got along fantastic. We had so much fun, a lot of cutting up and everything, but yet at the same time, we got up early and we worked almost till dark and every day. And so did what needed to be done. And I was really happy because we got the shelter built and we ran plumbing and electrical. We didn't get to finish putting the shutters on the windows. They don't put glass in these windows. They put shutters. Or the wooden doors. We didn't get a chance to do that, but we did build the stairs and everything for that. So they were going to finish that the week after we left. And then also chicken wire around the cooking part in order to make sure bats can't fly in. So we didn't get to do that, or do painting around the shutters. We didn't do that. So those are things I would like to have gotten done, but we worked hard. We had travel days. Saturday were bookend travel days, and that took all day. And then Sunday, of course, a day of worship and rest. And so we began Monday and worked until Friday. And so I thought we did amazing stuff in 5 days.
I saw some photographs, and it was just astonishing that you were able, 9 of you, to create something like that.
It was 10 counting me, but yeah.
Well, you just said you didn't bring any skills to that.
That's true. I didn't. Okay. I can't take any credit. I did what I was told to do, though. So that's, I don't feel like
somebody's got to hold up the other end of that board while
that's
it's being cut on the other end.
Exactly. So I did get to do a lot of cutting. The joke that I was a chop man for a day. I got to do cutting. So that was a lot of fun. And sometimes I got the measurements correct. So.
Well, that helps.
Yeah, nobody threw anything at me and said, this is cut wrong. It was more of, can you take like a little bit? I would always leave more. It was easier to take more off than it is to put more back.
Yeah, you can't put it back on. That's
So just remember, cut twice, measure once. So
something like that. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, Roy, this has just been a real pleasure to chat with you and hear what you've been up to, hear your perspective on friendship. A lot of guys don't want to talk about it. They're like, oh yeah, I got some friends, and that's it. That's the extent of the conversation. But I know we have some male listeners, and they will enjoy your insights, I'm sure. I really appreciate it. Mention again what your podcast is and your YouTube.
So my YouTube channel is Tech Troublemaker. And I talk about content creation, and then the podcast is a one-off tech podcast. This is I need to wrap up season 5 and start season 6. So it's been around for 5 seasons. I usually average about 30-something episodes a season. So but I've kind of slacked up there. I was doing an episode a week. Now I do every other week. So it's like I have some breathing room because life happens and it's hard to rush it out. So yeah. Thank you so much for letting me be here. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed talking with you. You're always fun to hang out with. And so, yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, thank you to our friend Roy for chatting with us today and sharing another misadventure with me. We thank you, friends, old and new, for journeying with us. And we want you to give us a thumbs up and be our friend on social media, specifically on Facebook and Instagram. And while Roy celebrates with fireworks in his background, because we are on a Zoom call and he's got all sorts of tech going on behind him, I will commission you to go and make a friend and be a friend. Thanks again, Roy. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
See ya.
You don't have to be crazy to be my friend. I'll train you. Unknown author.
Misadventures with Friends is a production of Depot Street Studios and Rocket 88 Broadcasting. Music is from Storyblocks.com.